Hello and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and with me, as always, are the wonderful panelists, including Alex Cash.
Hi.
Ben Mealy.
Hi, friends.
Stephen Lehman.
Hi.
And Survivor Cook Island's very own Billy Garcia.
Hello, Survivorverse.
Woo! All right. So we will be talking about episode 5 of Survivor season 35, Triple H, coined by Billy. Thank you for saving me from having to say heroes versus healers versus hustlers and not remembering one of the H's every single time.
Except you just said it perfectly.
Yeah. Because I was looking at Billy's face on our screen for inspiration. He had that I know you can do it look on his face. So thank you. You are an inspiration to us all. And another inspiration to us all this episode was Ben of the Yawa tribe. He had a bit of a rough go with some popping of the wood, but he ended up using his kind of wartime experience, and instead of kind of dwelling on it and taking it as a really negative thing, he turned it into like a positive and inspirational message, which I loved. Billy, I know you probably really related to this very well.
Yeah, as a fellow Marine, I could totally understand like everything that he mentioned, and also the whole thing of post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the most underrated mental condition that exists in the United States today. You got to remember, there's like 7 wars going on, and so there's so many people coming back from their service that have just got post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's not surprising that one has made it on to Survivor here in the 35th season. Even though he had a really stressful moment with the bamboo popping while it was burning in the fire, all things considered, he actually handled it better than most. So kudos to Ben.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I was just very happy to see Survivor still making time to have segments like this, because I think it's important, because I totally feel the same way. Like, PTSD isn't something that people consider, or when people do consider it, they think they have a clear understanding of what it looks like. And so to have it be shown in such a mainstream and in such a way that Ben isn't the person that you're going to think has PTSD, and it's really when you see him actually be impacted by it that you realize like how much of a real thing it is, and how much it's not something that's completely debilitating. Like, it's people that a lot of people struggle with to a varying degree, but it's really awesome to show that it's just not one picture. It humanizes it and reduces some of the stigma that people see in it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought he took something that was really hard and kind of sought to inspire people as a result of it. I loved what he said, that the past will eat you alive, but the future will save you. And focusing on, future good things. I think that's such an important positive message, especially in this day and age that we're in.
Yeah, and I would also like to just point out that I think it's been a while since we've had someone from a military background on the show, or at least it's less common than it used to be, because I remember it was like pretty common in like the first few seasons. And like, I also appreciate that Survivor has had more of those, like, more scenes where people like talk about like real stuff that's affecting them in their life in more recent seasons than they used to. And so I think that was just an excellent they had the opportunity to put together, and they handled it very well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we're definitely getting to see a lot more of the whole person that is every Survivor character, rather than just entirely like their stereotype or how they're going to be edited to be, which I know we on the podcast have really been enjoying the last few seasons. One person who has many sides, 2 of which are crazy and smart, apparently, is Joe, as we saw in the aftermath of the tribal council. I would like to think the podcasters are also crazy and smart, but you know, whatever.
Well, I don't know about crazy smart, but I'm Dominican too. Maybe crazy, for sure crazy, but maybe not smart. But what I do like about that whole situation was that it wasn't angry. It wasn't like, you bastard, you totally, screwed up my game. Instead, it was a lot of admiration. Like, wow, that was a great move. So, for Joe to have made such a strong move, and for things to have happened the way they did, he just happened to be surrounded by the right people. Where, yeah, they're still gonna feel like he's a threat, but there's not gonna be animosity in that tribe, which I think explains a lot of why some of the things that some of the way they responded in the ensuing challenges sort of worked out the way it did.
Yeah, they've had really great teamwork this episode for sure, and I'm sure it stemmed from their positive vibes with each other. And in the reward challenge, they definitely completely killed it. It was interesting to see how positive they were and how positive like Chrissy was, sitting out but encouraging her tribe the whole time, yelling. And then it was kind of interesting to see like Lauren almost have a little bit of a bad attitude as a juxtaposition about like, oh, who's going to sit out? And me, I guess it's me, I guess. And, yet again, we kind of see her not having like the best attitude in challenges or in general.
One thing that I would like to point out about the challenge is that, two things. One is that the reward challenge, besides just, having to push stuff with your face, that's great. That's always fun. But also, I think Levu did a lot better with this one, because you mentioned teamwork. That challenge has zero teamwork. It's each person does their thing individually, and they as Desi has pointed out, they have the bronze. They just don't have any semblance of working together.
Right.
And also with regard to Desi, so she killed it at both challenges, and every time she's spoken, it's about how the team's doing or how the team's gonna do at challenges, or we're doing better at challenges now. So I think that's just, I guess that's what she's about, is the challenges.
And who can blame her, because she's so good at them.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking the same. Desi is absolutely killing it. I also would say that with reference to Lauren during the reward challenge anyway, I can understand her frustration, just because it's sort of like, I can't imagine most people want to sit out, but it's just the way of how it happens. So I don't know. I still like Lauren. I feel like she's a very old school character, which I guess we can touch on later when we have a little segment of her and Cole. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Lauren.
Oh, Billy, you're muted. Let me unmute you.
My bad. Sorry. Forced to have it. To me, the teamwork was not in the form of like two people holding up a heavy object, or two people working on a puzzle. To me, in this challenge, the teamwork was in the form of advice. Like, one person would figure out how to do that whole wormy thing, and then they would share like how to do it to the next person that's on. And also in the basketball part, like we were hearing Joe like giving the advice that it's in the wrist, and the next thing you know is one basket after the other. So yeah, there was teamwork, but in the way of advice, not necessarily in the way of you grab this end and I grab that end type of teamwork, which is what I think we've been getting in the last several episodes. So this was refreshingly different.
Yeah, and we saw advice with a lot of the teams. We saw it with Ryan, even though he was struggling so much in that whole challenge. We heard like, use your shoulder, use your face. It's all about control. And poor thing, he was like the me of that challenge. I just kept looking at that and being like, oh my God, my poor contacts. I could never like shove my face in the sand. It would not go well. They'd have to like medevac me to like flush out my eyes or something. But
and just as somebody that's played before, let me just tell everybody that line and that Anakin Skywalker likes to say, sand gets into everything. Yes, it is very, very true. It gets into everything and everywhere. I can just imagine in that challenge. Holy smokes. Like the things they got into. Oh, that coffee wasn't good enough. I'm sorry.
Oh, Billy, that reminds me of a question I had for you. So after that reward challenge is over, they have all the teams lined up as Jeff is like awarding them their prizes. And they're all just still covered in sand. Does production like not let them go run into the ocean and like clear off if they want to? Like, do they want all that grit to like further emphasize what just took place? Or did they just not choose to like run over and watch?
Believe it or not, Survivor's on a schedule. It just is. Everything about it is on a schedule. Most people, I'm a little surprised and not surprised, borrowing a line from Survivor just now, this episode. Surprised and not surprised that the fans don't pick up on the fact that Survivor is very scheduled. Like Tribal Council is never like in the daytime. It's always specifically at a certain time of night. The challenge is like you get the reward challenge first, and then the immunity challenge next, the Tribal Council. So you kind of know the schedule. So the same thing happens at camp. When it comes to confessionals, there's a schedule. When it comes to when you get to enjoy your reward, there's a schedule. It's just it's part of the ability to make the episode happen within the time frame that they have to make it happen. So yeah, it's not that they were like dirty people and didn't want to clean up.
Wow, that's good to know. Oh man, yet another reason why I wouldn't do well in Survivor. I can like get the sand out of my eye. It's fine. Anyway, so we go to the Levu tribe. We see them enjoying some iced coffee and things. And we see Deb and Ash's renewed, we're in it together. It's us forever. We saw in the preview last time, they're going to rocks, I'm curious to see like how that will actually pan out and if it ever does indeed go to rocks. But
yeah, no, I thought it was interesting just to see the Levu sort of turnaround. Just to borrow a line from Crystal Cox, I ain't crying over no daggone Danishes, but I really was happy that the Levu folks got to turn it around. And I mean, it's interesting. They're still like so clearly divided 2-2. Because they got first because they had more of they had like the actual pastries. And so I thought it was interesting though that Ashley and Devin were just like not even going to bother with Joe because they thought he was so smart, as he's dubbed himself, crazy smart. And they're going for Desi. So I don't know. I kind of like the developments over there and the tension there.
Yeah, I like it too, and it'll be interesting to see it develop more as the season goes on. Speaking of developments, we go over to the Soko beach, or Soko beach, where we have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of players talking to each other, a lot of players talking behind each other's backs about other players. It's kind of a big mess. And thought that was really interesting was Ryan saying, Allie and Chrissy, they would never work together. Wondering kind of why that might be. I don't think we've necessarily seen a lot of like Allie versus Chrissy tension or animosity or anything, except for maybe challenge frustration. So I'm just wondering if maybe some things are going on in the background with that. We've got Rourke trying to get an in. We've got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, I really agree with you that they haven't really shown like the reason why Ryan would feel like Allie and Chrissy wouldn't work well together. So I guess it's just something that's on the cutting room floor of the editing room. So we'll never really know. But I it definitely did like set the table for the rest of the episode and what was to come. As soon as I heard that line, I was like, oh, no. I thought it was going to be Allie that was going to go, to be honest with you. But I just had that big lump in my throat, and I was like, no, in slow motion. Like Family Guy. What? But it was no.
Same. I put my hands like on my face because they're both in my fantasy team. So I was like, no, not the girls.
Well, to me, it's the kind of thing where, like, I would guess that, on one level, and there's probably like dozens of other levels of just, like the little things in interaction that we don't see. But on one level, if you're a small tribe, then you're worried that losing someone strong is going to mean that you're like gonna just go into a challenge tailspin. And if you're of the conventional mindset, which is to say you don't know about the secret Ryan and Chrissy pregame alliance, and you're thinking Rourke's a swing vote, so out of JP or Chrissy, who are you going to get rid of? Chrissy. Just in terms of like, basic, who looks like they're going to be a challenge competitor. This translates as who's a big buff guy. And so maybe something like that got out, and it's like, okay, so I know she's going after me, so I have to go after her, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it could also just, some things that don't translate to TV are like looks. Like if someone gives you a funny look, like in the morning when you wake up or something, that'll never translate to TV. So, it could have been stuff like that. It could have been looks. It could have been body language, stuff that you have to have been there.
That's true. I mean, we did see Chrissy like roll her eyes really hard in the tribal council. Maybe she's got some of that nonverbal stuff going on that we're just really not picking up on. We're just seeing like the hero, like winter music in the background, Chrissy. We're not seeing like the exasperated, I'm on a beach and I'm playing a game, Chrissy. So that very well could be. And speaking of exasperation, we yet again find Lauren being exasperated with someone who is really annoying her. This time it's a problem with Cole. He's licking his fingers. He's eating food. To be honest, I would be doing the same thing if I was super hungry and on Survivor and there was only limited peanut butter, but it's fine. And we also have another idol that comes into play. So lots of excitement, lots of mountains and valleys on the Yawa tribe.
And about that idol, there's something that I want to get into, because Mike was just sort of, so from what we saw, Jessica takes Mike out to the well, and Mike just sort of like blindly digs around it. So what I'm guessing happened is that Cole, because he was recruited at a Chipotle and knows nothing about the game of Survivor, did not have a brainwave telling him that the idol is probably hidden in the same location on all the beaches. Whereas Jessica does know this, and she's worried about Mike not being in the alliance, or not Mike not being in the alliance, but Mike being left out of the or Cole like spilling beans. And so, as a way to reel him back in, takes him to the well, and he digs around in there. But so the question is, was it better to get Mike back on board, or was it better for her to get the idol for herself and then tell Mike as a way of regaining his trust?
Yeah, I think with Jessica, I'm glad she had the foresight to go and get the idol and withhold that from Cole, because God knows, I mean, God bless him, if Cole had, put it together and had gotten it, it would have turned ugly pretty quick. But I don't think it was a bad move on Jessica's end to let Mike have the idol, because I think realistically he's going to be targeted before her anyway, in some capacity. So she's just shoring up an ally in the process. So I don't know. I don't think in this instance it was a particularly bad play for her.
Yeah, I think Jessica is trying to play the game through other people, which is why she told Cole so much. And so I think she's trying to put the idol in Mike's hand, just so that when it gets played, like she's not the one burning the bridge. She's so I think that's part of her game. Having said that, I'd rather just burn the bridge and have the idol in my own hand. Like, maybe it's more my personality than my experience, but there was something that David Letterman said to me when I was eliminated and I went on the Letterman show. He was like, rely on no one, do it for yourself. He's so damn successful, he's got to be right.
I think that for Jessica, this is just a continuance of everything we've seen with her, and that she can't do anything by herself. She needs to do it with someone in order to feel comfortable doing it. So, but I do think, what she did was a more intelligent move than doing it on her own, because, you have him doing it instead of her, so the spotlight is on two instead of one, and so you're not the lone target if you were to be seen trying to dig for the idol. Not that it really matters in the first place, because they have majority on the tribe, but this or that. But it's a better play for her, but I don't think she knows how to play this game without a second person. But I think that she's tying people into her, so it's a testament most to her comfort in gameplay than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, also, too, I think, slightly in her defense, I think logistically, how do you go to the water well by yourself, fill up your water, fill up other people's water, and have time to, dig around for an idol all without being suspicious? Or, Billy, I feel like you might have a better idea if that would work or not.
Yeah, one of the best excuses is, but it takes work ahead of time, is never take an aqua dump. Go to the middle of the forest to do your dumping, and then go clean in the ocean. So this way, whenever you need to go off alone, for any reason, I'm taking a dump, everybody, taking a dump, and then you go off alone. So nobody's gonna come what's he up to? Is that an idol coming out his ass? Is that? Oh no, it's not. So yeah, taking a dump, going to do a confessional, all those kinds of things actually work to go off alone.
Gotcha.
But you guys got to set it up ahead of time.
I see. You got to be strategic about it, not a surprise. And I imagine too, when people are going off in a pair, I would assume that people aren't necessarily going to think oh, they must both be going to look for the idol together, because that's not typically something that you do with another person. So maybe it's going to lessen the suspicion a little bit on the fact that they could have an idol, but maybe.
Yeah, but the suspicion is always going to be, oh, they're scheming, because there's two of them together alone.
True.
So yeah. There's different ways to do it. I guess it depends on the people you're surrounded by and your personality, and what's believable for you that would not necessarily believable for somebody else. So yeah.
Gotcha.
And I want to just on a humorous note with Mike and Jessica, did anybody else just notice the awkwardness in their interaction in general of being around each other? It felt like a very uncomfortable, not natural, not oh, we're just gonna go grab water, it's chill. It seemed palpable amounts of tension, or just dissonance between the two of them, which made it even more funny that they were working together and found an idol. It seemed like the most accidental grouping to find an idol together since Cole and Joe.
Maybe it's something with those healers. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's Jessica and Cole are definitely we're this duo. So I don't know how much time Jessica and Mike really got to bond before kind of being thrust together by default on this new tribe. So Yeah, we'll have to see a little bit further if their relationship stands the test of time or not. Because already Mike voiced concerns that it's always a liability for a second person to have an idol. But anyway, we move on to the immunity challenge, and this one was pretty. I don't know. It there was some swimming, there was some not swimming. It was so memorable that I've already forgotten what half of it was.
Well, let me just say, I'm glad that it wasn't another obstacle course with a puzzle at the end. Let me start there. But then, now that I started there, let me criticize. That was a total waste of rice. Oh my God! Not only the people starving on Survivor, there's people starving all over the world. Like, what a waste of rice! I was looking at this and I was like, man, all of us that played this game are going to hell because of you guys, man. You just wasted like a month's worth of food for like an entire country, like Ethiopia or something. I don't know.
So, Billy, would you have forgone that challenge and been like, okay, guys, we're gonna lose, but we're taking all 3 of these bags of rice straight to the beach and then to our camp?
You know what's crazy is that you had to take it through salt water. And I was like, as soon as I saw that part of the challenge, I was like, you MFers, you bastards, how did you do this? Like, you can't even pocket the rice afterwards. While the doing the ball thing, I would totally be stuffing my pockets with rice and putting it in my do-rag and what have you. Take my shirt off and make a basket out of it and put rice in that. So, yeah, but now that it's been through salt water, you can't do anything with it. Those bastards.
Now you know how to cook rice and how to not be able to cook rice on Survivor. That's a bummer. We were all wondering in our little Survivor panelist chat, could people not grab some of that rice and take it home? But no, apparently when it's ruined, you don't want to eat it. Shocker. One thing I noticed during the challenge, and I know this happens every single challenge, but I really noticed it this time, was Jeff Probst with the constant narration, the constant yelling hype stuff, the zingers. Billy, is he just constantly doing that throughout the entire challenge? Or is there a lot of silence and then when something happens, Jeff just explodes and then it's back to you just doing your thing in the challenge?
No, he's a chatterbox and he's the king of call-outs. If you so much as stumble, you can just be running to the beach and you catch, you can catch a little something like a root or something and you stumble for a moment. Billy's destroying his tribe. He's killing them. It's like, mother, you bastard. So yeah, he's the king of call-outs. He's a chatterbox all throughout the challenge. And it's damn annoying when you're trying to concentrate. Maybe that's why so many people are really smart, but they can't do puzzles. Is because that bastard won't shut up long enough for you to think about what you're doing.
I guess that's why we hear certain survivors being like, Jeff, stop. They can only take so much. That's great. Oh man, that's so scary though. I know he calls out some people. I didn't realize it was a constant thing. I know he called out Rourke when she was struggling in their reward challenge and all this stuff, but nothing gets past Jeff because he seems like he is everywhere at all times in the challenge. But we do have the tribe that loses, Soko, go to tribal council. And
can we just touch on how they lost real quick? It
absolutely.
was it was a meltdown. It was panic. At first it was I can't do it with my shoes. I can't do it with my shoes. And then she gets back. Somebody else does it and completes it. She gets back up there.
Allie does it.
Falling off. And I kid you not, there was people do you want to switch out? Do you want to switch out? And then she comes back and tribal council and complete lies about it. I was the one looking back and saying, does anybody want this? And everybody just stayed quiet. You bullshitter. They were asking you, do you want to switch out? And let me try. Yeah, no, I could tell she's gonna be horrendous in challenges. I wonder if this is something that's gonna, okay, she could talk her way out of it once, and she continually talk her way out of being that horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for Chrissy because I have horrible balance, so there is a 0% chance I would have been able to complete that challenge. But I would like to think I would have told everyone at that point, guys, terrible balance, don't put me in this, I can't do it. So, and you don't think like in the heat of the moment with like everything that was going on, she like misremembered stuff because that's just, you get overwhelmed and that's what,
No, she was trying to save her ass. She was trying to save her ass.
But like seriously, I'm like, girl, just if you want to tap out, don't step up at the same time you're gonna step out. Don't step up. Just walk away, girl. Like all you
step
have to
up
do is
or
walk
tap
away.
out. There is no in between. Gotcha.
I will say this though about the balancing that you mentioned. Looking at how everybody else was doing it, everybody else was basically, they picked the foot and they stood on one foot while they did it, and the other foot was just being used to sort of not sway left or right. It was sort of the stabilizer, while one foot is where all the weight was, and that's not what Chrissy was doing. Chrissy was having both weight on both feet, and so she had nothing to stabilize herself with. And that's why she kept falling over every time she would pull on one string a little more than the other string. Because that was how you maneuver the ball. You pull on one string more and it gives slack to the other string. And so that makes you go off balance. So you needed something to stabilize yourself. So all your weight had to be on one foot while the other foot compensates for that side that you're pulling down on. And that's what the others did, and Chrissy never figured that part out.
Oh my gosh, I'm taking away so many life lessons from you today, Billy. This is fantastic. But Chrissy does kind of spell their demise in this challenge, and they do lose. And then they kind of have a bit of a scrambly, beach time with Chrissy talking to Rourke for seemingly the first time ever, somehow, and a lot of pairs going off, a lot of kind of misinformation.
Yeah, like I don't understand how people on a beach where you have 5 people, how you can spend 6 days together and not talk, to have at least like a brief conversation with every individual person. Billy's been on a tribe of 5 people. Maybe he knows, but that just baffles me. But I'm
Alex, I'm baffled as you are, and I was actually, like you said, on a tribe with 5 people. I couldn't scratch my ass without everybody in my tribe being well aware and then asking me, like, you normally get asked like rashes and stuff, and when you're back home, like, what do you shop for to take care of like rashes, and what's your favorite place for a rash? What's your favorite cream for it? And we just, all the silliest conversations you could think of happened because there was nothing else to do except to talk to one another. And that's in spite of the fact that my tribe was a busy bee tribe, where we were getting busy over nothing just so that we could not be the lazy Latinos on TV. Like, we didn't want to be the poncho on a hacienda all 6 days that we were together. Like, we stayed super busy, and yet we still like chatted up a storm because it was nothing else to do. Like, I can't imagine like Chrissy staring at the fire for 6 days or however long it was. Just, yeah, okay. I'm to sleep. All right, I'm to sleep. I just can't imagine that. Like, what the hell? You're on Survivor.
I can't come to any conclusion. Like, I feel like if Rourke actually like shared the information in that conversation, it would have had to have been shown. Like, there's just like, it was already established that she was planning on voting with Ryan and Allie. So there's really no situation where it wouldn't be pertinent for that to be shared if that happened during the day. So my mind is leaning to the fact that like she never, like, she got pinned for this women's alliance without actually sharing that with the people she was planning on voting on, thinking she was so secure. And I think that, like, this is, like, obviously speculative, but, like, I feel like if she had shared the information, it could have been a different ball game, because Ryan would not have played easy knowing that information if there was another plan going on that didn't involve him, if Chrissy was running it. I don't see any way that the editing doesn't get around not including that if that was something that happened before Tribal.
Yeah, first of all, I meant to say Paco on a siesta. Thank you. I agree that Rourke played her cards a little too close to the vest. She should have been maybe a little bit of blind man bluff. Which means you talk a lot. That's what blind man bluff is. You hold your card to your head. You have no idea what your card is, but you know what everybody else's card is. So you blab. You put other people on the spot. And I agree that that was probably Rourke's downfall. Like, that was her big, slip up. Having said that, Ryan, I thought, like, he created a crap storm on himself. Like, if he would have betrayed Chrissy, then Chrissy would be gone and he wouldn't hear a word about it. But by betraying Allie, who stays, like, he set himself up to have an enemy. So that's my opinion.
Counter argument is that this way he at least keeps both of his closest allies in the game for at least another round. And also, he's going to have to smooth it over with somebody because he's going to have to betray somebody. And who would you rather smooth things over with? Allie, who's very nice and sociable, or Chrissy, the belligerent Jersey mom?
I totally disagree that he would have to smooth things over with Chrissy, because Chrissy would be voted out. Doesn't have to say a word to her. She's at the Ponderosa. So yeah, no, I would have like stuck with Allie, and he wouldn't have to smooth anything out. Because Big Beefcake is gonna have to play Big Beefcake to stay in the game anyway. So he's gonna do major ass kicking and major ass kissing all at the same time. It up now is okay. Now he's with and he's made his bed, but he's made an enemy of Allie. Allie, if she could just hang in there long enough until there's another swap or the merge itself, she could just skedaddle and be on the other side now. She owes nothing to Ryan.
See, I would have disagreed with that until I saw the preview for next week's episode. In my mind, yes, you kind of, Allie doesn't know about one vote that you were doing, but at the same time, you weren't voting directly against Allie. Like, it didn't seem like her and Rourke were really even that close to begin with. She just seemed like a middle person that could vote with the strong pair of Allie and Ryan. So it's not like you're cutting off one of your allies' closest allies. You just have a different opinion about who should go that round.
Yeah, I think the one I would just wish that, like, I wish he could have done like a clean sweep and just like had included Allie in the vote and just not spoiled anything. Because I think what he's doing is actually a really smart thing, because he's the only person in this game right now that has 3 different people in the game thinking that he's their number one or prospective number one: Devin, Chrissy, and Allie. And come the next swap or potential merge, if it's soon, those are 3 different individuals or 3 different like broader connections that are going to web him into more safety. So Chrissy staying in the game gives him perspective access to all of the heroes left in the game, or her whatever she was her perceived connection. So I think that was a smart long-term decision for Ryan, even if he has like a small blow up short-term with implications.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree in that with Allie, it was against her because that whole thing was her plan. It wasn't that it was some other person that concocted this plan. It was Allie that brought in Rourke. So it was her plan. So he undermined her plan. So this is why she's taking it personally, because it was her plan. So yeah, he doesn't come away with Allie as a short-term This is a little problem. We'll smooth it over. No, Allie's going to be, even if she's like, don't worry, it's okay, it's going to be like a woman, don't worry. When a woman says don't worry, you better worry. So it's going to be like that. I don't see Allie sticking with Ryan. Why would she now? She can't trust him. She gave him they was supposed to be the ride or die. They had a plan, and he went against the plan and didn't tell her anything about it. So that's it. Can't trust her. I mean, can't trust Ryan. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case and he had to cut one of two heads, he cut the head with less resources then. He picked the one that is gonna give him more resources at the next stage in the game.
He hopes. I see Ryan paying for this mistake later, which is why it was such. I think it was shown the way that it was shown. I think this is gonna come to bite him in the ass. This is one of those. I screwed somebody today. 3 days from tomorrow I'm okay. The day after I'm okay. Then karma bites me in the ass. That's what I think was the storyline that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason they showed right after the reward challenge Allie being like, Ryan kind of sucked, but he's my ride or die, so that's why I'm sticking with him. I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that he's in good graces with everyone. From a personal standpoint, I don't think it was a good move on Ryan to betray Allie. I think the smarter move would have just been to say, hey, those two are together. They really want work out to get rid of the healers, and there's nothing we can really do. So I think he really probably could have tried to include Allie more, because I feel like there's no reason to leave her out in the cold, because the only thing that'll do is, upset her and make her question his motives as, for, previously being with her.
I have a thought, because as I feel like I point out a lot, there's a lot that we don't see. Maybe Ryan did try that. Maybe he brought it up just as like a testing the waters, and Allie was like a firm no, and so he's like, okay, so that means that option's out the window. I got to pick.
Well, to that, I'd say that it's even worse that he did what he did, because then for sure, if that was what happened, then for sure he stabbed. He would have. She could believe that he stabbed her in the back. Like, then it would be no doubt about it in her mind. Doing it the way, let's say it didn't happen that way, to where he just never told her anything, he could at least try to backpedal and say, we ran out of time, I was going to tell you, but we had to run the tribal council. He could try to backpedal that way. But if he told her and then still went against her, his goose is cooked.
Gotcha. And we did see kind of the guilt all over Ryan's face throughout the tribal council. For me, that was kind of a telltale sign that he was going to be not voting with Allie. It seemed like every time something happened, he was putting his head down, he was reacting, he was shaking his head, and so I felt like he definitely knew it was a very, his decision was going to have some pretty poor consequences, and I knew in his gut acting out a stabbing happening and or a hanging. It's possible. I hope for Ryan's sake that's not the case. But we'll see, because as we saw in the preview for next week, Allie was having a total meltdown. She was really, really unhappy. She feels very alone right now, which is a really hard thing, to feel like in the game of Survivor, where you rely so heavily on those around you to be your allies. We also see a dramatic Cole just falling down and having his eyes shut preview. We don't see a medevac or anything, so I don't know if that was just hype, but it seemed like a pretty explosive episode.
Yeah, I love that they show the blow up for Allie, because it's like, that's the question we're walking into next episode is, does Allie latch back onto Ryan? Because I think at the end of the day, what other option does she have? Like, she has to latch on to the one resource she has and pray that she makes it to the next swap or merge or whatever it is. Like, she doesn't really have many other resources, and by the time the merge comes, if you're a single player, you're playing to swing onto a big thing or you're floating out to water. So I think it's about seeing if she's as good of a game player as she was portrayed in the first couple of weeks, or if she has a combustible side that pulls her off of the road.
And I mean, in the same vein as we've seen pretty much every other week, oh, she invested in Rourke, and now Rourke went home. Kiss of death strikes again.
Very true, very true. I'll just say that, was it me? Maybe I was the only one that when that face down fall happened, I totally did a Ric Flair, woo! Because it just reminded me of Ric Flair when he wrestled. And
it's Survivor Triple H, and Ric Flair managed Triple H. It's coming full circle, Billy.
Real quick on the I guess I was going to talk about the Cole fall. It reminded me of in Kagiyan. There was a preview. I forget which episode. I think it was like Final 9 or Final 8. But Trish was with Woo, like, and he was grabbing coconuts out of the tree, and they just cut to him like falling out of the tree and like hitting the ground. And they're like, oh! And everyone's like, oh my god! And like Woo was fine because it was Woo. But I feel like Cole is probably going to be fine because on top of that, I feel like his edit has been too negative for just a straight up medevac. Like usually medevacs have some level of positivity to them, with the exception, of course, being Colton One World. But yeah, I would say that I don't think he's going anywhere next week. At least if he is, it's not through getting pulled out.
Yeah, but if you believe Jeff Probst, Colton's medevac wasn't a medevac; it was a quit.
Well,
and I believe Jeff Probst.
Yeah.
Same. Jeff Probst knows best. Anyway.
Also, real quick, rest in peace, my winner pick. Because Rourke was my winner pick. So
we can now have a brief moment of silence for Rourke. She'd had enough brief moments of silence of her own this season because we
weren't
really
so brief, though.
Didn't hear from her all that much. I'm okay that she's gone, although I'm sorry, Steven.
It's okay.
Another one bites the dust. That just gets all of the rest of us a little bit closer to winning a Survivor buff. We do have a contest for the panelists. Whoever's winner pick gets the farthest gets a Survivor buff this season. And we also have a contest for all you viewers. Every share enters you into a drawing for a free Survivor buff of your own. So please, please, please share this episode if you dig it, and we will see you all next week. Have a great night.
Bye.